in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving higher.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast Markets with Shawn Hackett. Shawn is a financial advisor with Hackett Financial in Boca Raton, Florida. And this edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Dawsontire and Will, your premier ag tire and wheel provider in North America, helping people grow. Tractorzoom, delivering insights, and Dryshod Boots, the official work boot of the Moving Iron Podcast. And they're the official work boot of the Moving Iron Podcast because they're the only work boot company that said they'd want to be part of the Moving Iron Podcast. So things are positive. You know, I enjoy that. So I guess, Shawn, as you take a look what's going on today, there is plenty of muck around, so you still need a pair of those Dryshod boots to kind of muddle your way through. So there's a ton of stuff going on. So let's jump in and talk about what's going on with yesterday's export report, right? So actually had a pretty positive last couple days. Hopefully we can finish out Friday with some level of positivity and lead that into next week. Right now, the looks like the corn market in the front month is up about 1.25. So there's still a lot of day left, but we're heading in the right direction, I guess. So as you take a look what's going on, man, what are your thoughts about yesterday and where you see today going?
The market's starting to break out on the charts. You know, we've been talking about how they're kind of building and coiling for this to happen. And it looks like, you know, wheat and corn and soybeans, even bean meal, all showing some breakouts this week to the upside and starting to show, you know, that prices have been too low for too long. And the economy keeps reopening. Energy prices keep going up. Ethanol prices keep going up. Activity, ethanol production keeps going up. And, you know, weather is just getting started, but there's enough problems in the U.S. and elsewhere that markets, you know, starting to get a little concerned. We have a hurricane tropical system coming into Texas and Louisiana, and it looks like there could be some potentially flooding rains in the eastern corn belt where it has been excessively wet. So put all this together, Casey, and on top of it, we have a U.S. dollar that's been falling pretty rapidly, and the real is up 15% off the lows.
Yeah.
All these are good signs and saying that maybe we're ready to feel a lag inflation here over the summertime. So.
Well, that'd be good. We need a little bit of kick. So as you take a look, okay, I don't want to talk about this, Shawn, but I have to. I guess it's in my contract. But China, right? So if you take a look at what's going on there are the sugar coating is getting thicker and thicker and thicker on this phase one China thing, and obviously there is some delayed buying purchases because of everything that's going on. They want to blame it on the coronavirus and all the stuff that's happening there, but they never stopped buying anything from Brazil. So I guess, granted, now we're kind of like the only shop in town now that's got, you know, the protesters left us alone. So we've got the only shop in town that doesn't have that's got a good robust supply of pork, beef, chickens, you name it, we got it all, right? So I guess as you start looking 2-3 months down the road, opportunity for this phase one thing, whether China wants to have it happen or not, is got to be right there, right? I mean, am I reading too much into this, or am I?
We have to remember this is a political election year.
Yeah.
So politicians will say all kinds of things in the public forum to try to frame the argument. So I don't pay any attention to what anybody says. I just pay attention to what they're doing. And so what I think was pretty telling, Casey, is that we had the Chinese making these claims, you know, that they're not going to buy from us. Markets didn't skip a beat that day. I mean, they tried to go down just for a little bit, and they ended the day flat, and now they're rallying. So they're going to buy. They have been buying. Right. And you look at their economy, their economic activity continues to improve. It just approved an $800 billion infrastructure bill in China to get things going even more. Copper breaking out to new highs to almost 260, down up from 210. You know, copper's always one of the best barometers for global economic activity, especially out of China. And yet, it means demand is going to continue to improve for commodities and for ag parts, and they're going to see a need to continue to build that hog herd, and that means they're going to need beans, a lot of them, and they're going to need corn, and they're going to need, to continue to buy pork and beef from us to try to fill in the gap until they can rebuild that herd over the next 12 months. And so all this is saying that demand will continue to get better, and as our packing plants continue to do better at bringing the animals through, we're going to start to see the animal prices start to catch up to the actual meat prices, which have already been sky high, as you know.
Right. All right, so here's another thing. We've got China's kind of, I know what it just feels like to me they're waiting to see what happens after the election, and they're kind of dragging their feet and like, oh, I promise we're going to buy some stuff. Just want to see what you guys are going to do first. Hold on a second. So now we got this stuff going on, and now, so that's a positive part of our economy, right? We're seeing they haven't let up on buying hogs. There's new reports out about African swine fever, and it's about as bad as it was to start with. I mean, I don't know if they actually ever stopped it from happening. They have a hard time stopping the spread of stuff. You know that? Whether it's African swine fever or coronavirus, they can't seem to stop anything from happening. But
the only thing good that the Chinese are at is supporting the truth.
they are good at that. Boy, they can swash that down in no time flat.
Apparently nobody has the coronavirus in the country. Nobody has it.
No one does.
Completely not.
Well, if you don't count it, if you don't actually check and actually register someone, no one's got it, right? North Korea's never had a case this whole time, so go figure, right? All right, so now the job report came out today at 7:30, and surprisingly it fell. I can't, shocker. You get open stuff back up and get people back to work. Oddly enough, unemployment goes down. So I guess that's going to have a positive effect on the markets across the board today, right? You're going to start seeing the outside markets are going to rally strong, and I would believe that would bring up the commodity market with it as well.
We talked about this post-virus for many months on your program. We talked about what it looks like, and now we're in the upward part of this W. And the economic numbers for the next couple of months are going to be blistering. As record-setting they were to the downside, we're going to see record-setting numbers to the upside that we've never seen before in history. And so we're in this bungee recoil back up. And it's going to be a good time for asset markets. It's going to be a good time for recalibrating supply and demand and what the funds and the capital flows and where things really should be at. And so it should be a very, very good time for the ag markets, and we should throw in a little weather or throw in some other fundamentals that can add a kicker. I mean, we could have some very exciting moves here and give our U.S. producers a chance to sell a price that can make some sense and put some equity back into their businesses. So we're pretty optimistic right now, and we'll be getting some really, really good smart money capital flows readings in the grain markets as of late, like really good. I mean, some of the strongs I've seen in a very long time, Casey. Mm-hmm. So, we're pretty optimistic that we're just turning the corner here. Everyone's still bearish. I'm still getting my customers telling me I know what I'm talking about, that the corn's going lower, and that's beautiful. I love to hear that, because if everyone still doesn't believe the rally, markets like to climb a wall of worry. And then everyone starts to give in and say, okay, I agree, it's bullish now, then you got to be more careful. That's all priced in. But we're nowhere near shifting the Senate to bullish yet. Not even close.
Well, yeah. Well, it seems like there's a lot of things that have lined up here of late that can really point towards some really good growth. I mean, the U.S. dollar is a double-edged sword. If it's too weak, you got inflation, but it also helps with exports and what you see there. So, like you talked about earlier, the lag in the U.S. dollar over the last couple of weeks is showing that actually some people are starting to do some exports with this now. You got AstraZeneca talking about how they're going to have whatever it is, 2 billion doses of the coronavirus vaccine that's supposed to come out this fall. And as all these things kind of fall into place, it looks like to me there's going to be some positive growth going into the fall. And assuming, barring something crazy happening, which, I mean, who knows? It could be the way things have been of late, there could be all kinds of crazy stuff happen. But it feels like the economy is headed in a good spot.
At least heading into the election, the history of election years, Casey, is that the politicians like to juice everything they can to make it look good. So I'm pretty comfortable that they will do it. They'll put more ammunition on this fire than they need to heading into the elections. Now, after the elections, now I'll be a little more concerned. That's when we might begin the downward part of the W, where we go, all right, we've had the bounce, we've had the rebound. Well, the government's putting this money in, but where are we really? Well, we're really, there's still going to be a lot of problems, and the government's going to be more on hold because they've done so much. They're going to start collecting the tab and go, whoa, wait a minute here. We got to just, sit back and see how all this plays out. We got to, and so I think heading into the elections, it should be a very good period, and I don't really expect the politicians to do anything other than to keep everything rocking and rolling now. It's in every senator's, House of Representatives, and the president's best interest to not be blamed for a bad economy come November.
Yeah.
And so that's good for the ag, that's good for what the prices, good for demand, and good for bringing speculative funds into the buy side after being on the sell side for a good part of the first half of the year.
Right.
So,
as you kind of sit back and take a look, cattle numbers are showing that slaughter is pretty close to where it was about a year ago. Hasn't really, prices off about $10 from where it was about a year ago, but pork prices are at a near low again. They can't seem to catch a break there, but I guess as you look around, what market are you looking at right now that says, I see some opportunity for upward expansion more than I would say anywhere else?
I would say the hog market right now is an ideal market to be taking a look at. If you just look at the October contract, we made a low, we had an initial rally from 50 to 60, now we're retesting. We're retesting an area, and it looks like we're just about ready to complete a double bottom. Mm-hmm. And then the market, completes that and then begins its ascension higher. When you look at how cheap pork is relative to beef, we think the demand for pork is going to go crazy this summer. We think there's going to be all kinds of sales and promotions and anyone looking at their budget saying, we need to trim a little bit here. I think the pork demand is going to be outstanding. And then, of course, with all these animals that we've been euthanizing, we're going to start running out of that oversupplied animals here pretty soon as demand continues to surge, as the restaurants continue to open. Every week now, the restaurant that I went to last week, they're busier this week, and there's more people coming, there's more people getting comfortable, and so the whole thing looks really promising. I think if you're just thinking about a risk-reward, entry-level market that looks just perfect for a good risk-reward entry point. If you're a buyer of pork, or if you're just someone that's looking at protecting upside, I think the deferred contract, late summer, early fall, hog prices look really, really attractive. It's part of the market that looks most interesting to us right now.
Yeah, the overall market feels like it's just ready to go. I always use here of late, I've been using the home improvement stores as a barometer, right? So when everything was kind of shut down and slow and nobody was really there, it was kind of, kind of thin. And then as it got warm and the novelty of being locked down wore off, it got busier and busier and busier. And now they still do practice social distancing. They just try to put 6 people in between the 6 feet between you and the other. So it's there's plenty of people out and about. So it tells you that people are going to be driving, people are going to be out buying stuff, they're going to be doing things to my daughter's birthday was this week, so we took her to this Irish restaurant yesterday, right? We actually had traffic on our way home. It took us, we actually had traffic again. Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. And I'm happy, don't get me wrong, but I'm so used to pretty much no traffic in South Florida. But so people on the road, people filling their tanks. It's no longer, weeks to the gallon. It's now gallons,
Yeah, miles to the gallon, right? Yeah.
So it's all happening, and so we're in this upper part of the W, and there's no reason to believe that things like hogs and pork and the animal food that aren't going to allow for some pretty reversion to the mean here, and so it just looks like an ideal market to be looking at right now. And grains look good, but they've already started to make a turn. But I mean, just something that really is just sitting there, just you said quailing. It looks like that's a market. Cattle's already kind of jumped off the lows already. I mean, it's already had its first surge off the lows. Hogs, I think it's just a matter of time before it happens as well. So.
Yep, I agree. All right, let's jump down to South America and take a look what's going down there. Argentine farmers have just finished up soybean harvest, and now they're focusing on corn harvest and planting some wheat down there as well. Same thing in Brazil. Brazil's been back and forth with the coronavirus shutdowns of some ports and opening up some stuff, but they've Bolsonaro has done a really, I don't know if you want to call it a good job, but he's made sure things didn't close. He's threatened people with military force to go back to work and all those fun things. So it's kind of a hairy situation down there, and then I think there could be some delays just because of what workforce looks like. So I guess as you look at South America, what are your thoughts down there, and where do you see some potential?
It's hard to predict, if and when there will be an unrest that will block logistics or block trucking or block a port. But it's certainly a very realistic possibility, Casey. I mean, if you're kind of modeling scenarios that could take place, what could be bullish drivers for grain markets, you have to model the potential for, especially corn, because corn exports, they're just harvesting now, they're just starting, and so that would be a way to harvest the corn over this over June, July into August. So you have to start modeling. That's a possibility that there could be some disruptions there. The other thing that I would say is that the corn crop, I would still believe is going to get lower in terms of expectations. As the crop harvest comes in, we start getting actual yield results. I do believe we're going to see production continue to fall, meaning less exportability capabilities for Brazil at a time when they're already short corn. And they already have a shortage of corn there. And so, of course, Argentina, they're involved in their default. Country's defaulted on their debt, so they're going through this whole basically bankruptcy and trying to come out of it, and farmers there just hold on all the grain they can because that's how they wait for everything to get resolved and figure out how bad the currency is going to get, and once it gets as bad as they think it can get for a while, then they start moving some grain. So right now they're just storing grain and waiting around for this whole default to run itself through. So I don't really see them being a big supplier to the market right now until the default works itself out, and that's probably going to take a couple of months before it really gets settled, I think.
Yeah, yeah. That Argentine economic situation is it's a bad one. I mean, especially with the, like you said. I mean, guys are just sitting on that crop and they're selling it as they need to, but they're waiting for that. When is my currency the least compared to the U.S. dollar, and I can bring dollars into my situation and make that's their wealth. That's what they have right now for wealth is their grain and fin, and the government's putting a lot of pressure on them to sell their grain or whatever commodity they've got to get it out of the market right now to help prop up their economy. And those guys are like, beat it, bro. I'm gonna hang on to what I got.
I was really going into default happens, once every 10 years.
Yeah.
It happens for the last 100 years, every 10 years. So you know exactly how this is going to end. And the only reason they've survived so long is because they keep the grain in the bin.
Yep.
If they're going through these things, they're not going to sell. They're not going to do it.
Not going to do it. Good stuff.
What I also find very interesting in the U.S. is that with all these riots and unrest, it's amazing that all of a sudden, I don't hear any more virus talk.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It's gone. I don't hear it. No one's focusing on how many new cases. It's just like it's as if it never happened. Now the news is focused on these all this unrest. So one has to wonder, is the virus really as bad as we thought, or is it overhyped? I'm just saying it's interesting. Like, is the virus still there?
Yeah.
I don't hear about it anymore.
Well, they're all practicing social distancing when they're protesting and breaking windows, so it's going to work out well for everybody. Yeah, that's the same thing. Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. Like, I thought the world was coming to an end, and now it's not. So you think that would be a big enough situation that, irregardless of what was happening, with everyone in the neighborhood, why is this not a big deal anymore? And it's surprising that it's kind of gone to the wayside.
Yeah, I just find it very interesting how the media focus and headlines can change just like that. All of a sudden, what we thought was absolutely the most critical thing, it's just gone.
Yeah.
It's just gone.
Yep.
Gone.
Yep.
And this is why this is the thing. This is
Yep.
it right here.
This is the new boogeyman. Yep. Yep. So, all right, Shawn, good stuff as usual. Folks want to reach out to you and kind of see what you can do for them, or just get some information about what's happening in the marketplace. What's the best way to do that?
Our website's Hackett, Hackett, advisors.com. All kinds of podcasts and interviews and things for them to take a look at to see if what we do and how we do it might be of value to your listeners.
Right on. I am Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Make sure you check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for all the latest podcast information, as well as any blogs I have coming out. I've got one I just finished up about a week ago, and I'm working on pillar number 2, going through it here as far as what I see happening with the ag equipment sales department, and that'll be out here hopefully, I keep saying this, hopefully by Monday, so always next week. And then hopefully y'all take a chance and listen to the Global Ag Network, and all the great podcasters out there as well. And make sure you guys are safe out there right now. Bone planting season is pretty much wrapped up around the country, and we're heading into harvest now. And wheat harvest is getting strong down south. And so I just would hope everybody stays safe and take your time, do the right things, and everything will work out fine. So I guess with that, I am Casey Seymour with Shawn Hackett. Let's go move some iron, folks. Out.